Laverton is situated on the edge of the Gibson Desert and was remote enough when I was there not to be able to pick up any television services. I was allocated a room in a house and would receive all my meals at the local single men's mess. All that for a nominal sum that was to be deducted from my wages. The accommodation was basic but quite comfortable, and we even had cleaners who came in to tidy the house and make our beds while we were at work. Laverton was a small town with around 400 residents, most of whom were employed by Western Mining, either at the mine or as ancillary staff in the town. There was also a floating population of Aborigines who came to Laverton to pick up their welfare checks. Unlike this chap, many of the younger ones made straight for the one pub to spend their money, and there were frequent fights between them and some of the miners. Because of that, Laverton boasted one of the highest numbers of police per head of population in the whole of Australia. This is the Windara nickel mine where I worked in the stores. It was a 27-kilometre drive from Laverton, and I got a lift each day with a fellow storeman. The mine was only partially operational at that time due to the low market price of the nickel that was mined there. Being so remote, we depended on nearly everything being brought out from Perth, either by plane if it was a smaller item or by road. This is how our fuel arrived, and it was vital in keeping the local power station running and generating electricity both for the mine and Laverton. Part of my job was to make sure that we got all the fuel that we were supposed to, and that involved using a dipstick that I lowered into the giant tank that is shown in this picture. Here's one of the large trucks that brought up nickel ore from deep inside the mine. We were also responsible for the running of the Lancefield gold mine, situated between Windara and Laverton. I worked 6 days a week and took all the overtime that I could get. On Sundays I would do my laundry and then go out with a few friends in a four-wheel drive vehicle exploring the area around Laverton. I didn't need much reminding of what sort of landscape that I was living in, but this sign was a stark reminder that it wasn't wise to travel around there without some precautions. At first, the outback seemed to be fairly uninteresting, at least as far as photography was concerned, but the more we explored, the more we found to take pictures of. As luck would have it, it rained heavily for the first time in 6 years while I was there, and the transformation of the surrounding landscape was quite dramatic. Wildflowers that had lain dormant for all those years suddenly sprang into life all over the place, creating colourful carpets amongst the scrub. Even when the wildflowers had gone, we still found plenty to take pictures of on our Sunday photographic safaris. The area was dotted with abandoned mines, and there was still much evidence of mining activity and the history of this part of Australia. I wondered what sort of end this poor man had met at a comparatively young age. Living so remotely in those days would have meant that even a relatively minor medical condition could have been fatal. We also visited the old open cast mine nearby, where nickel ore was literally scraped out of the ground. Fortunately, these open cast mines were landscaped afterwards, and the results could be quite attractive. I left Laverton with mixed feelings, having made so many friends there, but also glad to have finished work and saved enough money to continue my travels. I returned to Perth by road with my housemate, who was going on holiday. We travelled back via Kalgoorlie, the 950-mile drive taking us all day, and it was evening as we entered Perth. It was great to be back in Perth with all its comforts, and I enjoyed a week or two there while I made preparations for the next leg of my journey. Eventually, it was time for me to say goodbye to Australia and Robert and Vivian, who had been so kind to me. I intended to travel up through Sumatra next, starting from Java, and booked a flight with Singapore Airlines to Jakarta via Singapore. This was my last view of Australia from the jumbo jet, just after we took off from Perth. My journey back to the UK had begun.